We are recording sound. In December 2008, outside Facebook's offices in Palo Alto, California, a group of mothers gathered with a clear message.
Rise up and put back our pictures right now.
These women were holding what they called...
What are you calling the event?
It's the Facebook Nursing.
It was a humble gathering of a few dozen women and babies. The intent was really just to be visible and be peaceful and make a quiet point.
The platform had labeled their post as obscene content, and the mothers were outraged.
And they would receive a warning from Facebook for
uploading pornographic content. And people were really getting their backs up over this.
The women were making a point about who gets to draw the line between acceptable and unacceptable content, and why that line felt so arbitrary.
Breastfeeding is exempt, period.
For these mothers, it wasn't only a fight over breastfeeding photos. It was a fight for control over how their stories and lives were presented online. They were looking for answers, and today, more than 15 years later, we're still left wondering, why does this happen? Why is some social media content allowed to spread far and wide, while other posts are flagged, taken down, or worse, your account gets banned? Today we venture deep into the ethics of content moderation on social media. This issue raises important questions. Who decides what's allowed? How do platforms like Facebook and YouTube moderate billions of pieces of content each day? And perhaps most importantly, how fair is this moderation process? As we scroll through social media feeds, it's easy to forget just how much content is uploaded every single second. The sheer volume is mind-boggling. According to recent statistics, Facebook alone has over 3 billion monthly active users worldwide, while platforms like YouTube see over 500 hours of video uploaded every minute. Managing this level of content would be impossible for human moderators alone. As Tarleton Gillespie points out in his article, Content Moderation, AI, and the Question of Scale, platforms face a massive logistical challenge. As Gillespie states, the quantity, velocity, and variety of content is stratospheric. There's simply too much data for humans to handle themselves. And so, the solution that Silicon Valley has leaned on more and more is automation, using artificial intelligence to flag or remove inappropriate content. As Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, stated, we want to make sure we're building algorithms instead of just hiring massive amounts of people because we need to make sure this is scalable. In this context, AI seems like a perfect answer: fast, unbiased, and scalable. But as we often see with the tech industry, there's usually a catch. AI can detect certain patterns in speech or images that might indicate hate speech, spam, or violent content. For example, Facebook reported that in early 2019, 65% of hate speech content was flagged by AI before users even reported it. Sounds great, right? But hold on. Gillespie warns that AI's successes are often overstated. Much of what AI flags are just duplicates of content that humans had previously flagged. So, while AI can catch similar content, it struggles with the context. Imagine two users posting the exact same phrase. One might be using it in an aggressive or harmful way, while the other might be quoting it as part of a news report or a piece of satire. AI is not yet advanced enough to reliably understand these nuances. But there are also limits for human moderators. In the Post No Evil episode, they discuss a striking example of this.
For example, sometime around 2011, this content moderator is going through a queue of things.
Accept, reject, accept, escalate, accept.
And she comes upon this image.
Oh my God. What?
The photo itself was a teenage girl, African by dress and skin, breastfeeding a goat, a baby goat.
And the moderator throws her hands up and says,
And we Googled breastfeeding goats and found that this was a thing. It turns out it's a survival practice.
Even though they discovered that it was an actual cultural practice for survival, just like human breastfeeding, the moderators decided to take it down. When asked why, the Facebook employee stated,
Why? Why didn't we make an exception?
Because
when a problem grows large enough, you have to change the rules. If not, we don't. This was not one of those cases. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. This is a utilitarian document. It's not about being right 100% of the time. It's about being able to execute effectively.
In other words, it takes a lot of time and effort to understand the context of a message. So, does this mean we should leave content moderation entirely to human beings? Well, that's not a simple solution either. Human moderators face a nearly impossible job, reviewing vast amounts of content that can range from mildly inappropriate to extremely disturbing. Sarah Roberts' research in Behind the Screen describes the work of human content moderators as psychologically scarring, often leading to burnout. Now we see the dilemma more clearly. AI isn't capable of replacing humans entirely, and humans can't manage the scale. So, social media companies have tried to strike a balance, using AI for bulk moderation, like spotting duplicates, and leaving more nuanced decisions to human moderators. Gillespie notes that AI could be designed to handle the most egregious content, such as child abuse or terrorism-related posts, to protect human moderators from having to view traumatizing material. Meanwhile, humans could focus on borderline cases that require more judgment. Let's return to that question we started with. Who gets to decide what's allowed on social media? Platforms like Facebook and YouTube operate globally, but their rules and community standards are often shaped by specific cultural norms and legal requirements. What's considered free speech in one country might be classified as hate speech in another. More recent content moderation research shows an increasing reliance on cultural context and the hiring of local moderators who can better understand regional nuances. However, this raises another ethical concern. Are these platforms enforcing their own values on a global scale? In the Post No Evil episode, this idea is explored through the lens of power. When Facebook or YouTube decides what content is removed, they are, in a sense, shaping the conversation for billions of people. What gets flagged and removed is not just a matter of following rules, it's about who controls the narrative. For example, in 2021, there was controversy over Twitter's decision to ban political figures in the fallout of the January 6 attack on the US Capitol. Critics asked, is Twitter acting as a political gatekeeper of information, or is it merely enforcing its rules? Gillespie's article points out the inherent bias in AI systems as they are trained on data that reflects the decisions and biases of previous human moderators. This means the system can perpetuate existing inequalities, flagging minority voices at a higher rate, or failing to recognize certain speech patterns as legitimate. Finally, we come to one of the most pressing questions. Is the problem with content moderation really just about scale? Social media platforms have grown so large that moderation feels like an impossible task. Yet Gillespie and other researchers argue that perhaps the solution isn't just better AI or more moderators, but a rethinking of the platforms themselves. Maybe these platforms are simply too big. As Gillespie claims, perhaps if moderation is so overwhelming at this scale, it should be understood as a limiting factor on the growth at all costs mentality. In other words, rather than continuing to grow these platforms and trying to build bigger moderation systems to keep up, maybe we should be asking if social media giants like Facebook and YouTube should be this big in the first place. So, surprise, surprise, there's no simple answer to the ethics of content moderation. We're stuck in a dilemma once again. AI can't do the job perfectly, and human moderators can't scale. And yet, Content moderation is crucial to maintaining a safe and civil online space. As we think about the future of social media, we've got to ask ourselves, how can we balance freedom of expression with the need to protect users of various ages and cultures from harm? Should AI play a bigger role, or do we need to rein in the size of these platforms to make moderation more manageable? The answer, as Gillespie suggests, might not lie in technology alone. It might require rethinking the very structure of social media itself, and that's a question that isn't just for tech companies, it's for all of us as users of these platforms. Okay. I think I get the feeling of it. I just want to make it more expressive. Can I make it more expressive? Okay, you see these shoulder pads sticking out? That's what happens when you leave your hanger on all the time for the shirt you're gonna wear. This is my uniform, guys, a jean shirt. All right. Oh, I forgot to swish. Okay, let's go. Okay, we're gonna begin that whole section over again. Come on. Okay, we're really gonna do this. I'm not joking anymore.